Brought to us by Sopranos writer Terrence Winter and executive producer slash cinema god Martin Scorsese, as well as Funky Bunch notable and star of the next Transformers movie Marky Mark, no really, comes Boardwalk Empire, an all-new HBO series. Set against the backdrop of 1920s Prohibition, Empires follows the rise of bootlegger Nucky Thompson, based on real-life Atlantic City racketeer Enoch L. Johnson, as he navigates both the worlds of politics as the city's treasurer and the emerging world of illegal booze, complete with all the danger and backstabbing that comes with both.
Here. Friends, fellow members of the City Council, as you know, in less than 2 hours, liquor will be declared illegal by decree of the distinguished gentlemen of our nation's Congress. To those beautiful, ignorant bastards. Rest assured that, dry though the country may be, I am in the midst of concluding arrangements that will keep Atlantic City wet as a mermaid's twat.
Steve Buscemi leads the charge of great actors as Nucky. Stop me if you've heard this one before. He's a reluctant crime boss who has trouble with love and who occasionally worries about his mortal soul. While perhaps sounding a bit rehashed on paper, especially considering who the show is from, Buscemi does a lot to elevate the character and make it his own, infusing Nucky with a lot of great personality. If it wasn't for this, he could easily have come off seeming like a skinny Tony Soprano in a funny hat.
Where you going? I thought we were having a drink.
I already got what I wanted. What the fuck would we talk about?
And while we're on the subject of funny hats, no expense was spared in bringing the Prohibition-era AC Boardwalk to life. The set boasts such attention to detail that Scorsese himself even insisted that the planks on the boardwalk be the exact same size as the ones used in Atlantic City at the time. This same attention to detail also goes into the slick costume design and even the lingo.
10 shiners, 2 shifts, 24 hours a day. Got to figure of putting out close to 2,000 crates a week. And that's just for starters.
None of this is legit.
Now, once they get through with it, 1 part real, 8 parts water. You heat it up, let it cool, then add your alcohol to bring up your proof.
Where do you get your alcohol?
Potatoes.
Perhaps the most interesting aspect of the show is how it integrates actual famous historical figures into the narrative. You know that moment in comic book movies when someone says their name and you're shocked and delighted because you know who that person will one day become? Boardwalk Empire does the same thing with people like Al Capone and Lucky Luciano. So if you're a mafia history buff like me, you will really find a lot to enjoy. Now, all this great production design and big names would be nothing if not for a worthwhile supporting cast. Michael Pitt plays Jimmy Dermody, who as the series begins is Nucky's golden boy, who has just returned from the war, and who's having a lot of trouble adjusting to life at home, and as well as finding his place in the world.
Want to have your metal tested?
Oh my God!
And of course, no show about a bad guy protagonist would be complete without a good guy antagonist to help even things out. Michael Shannon plays Agent Nelson Van Alden, the lawman tasked with putting an end to bootlegging AC, but who quickly develops an unhealthy obsession with the woman Nucky happens to be seeing.
That's not true.
It is true. He's a panderer and a criminal.
Mr. Thompson is one of the most...
Your life doesn't have to be like this. And I know you don't want it to be.
You don't know me at all.
I can see into your soul, Margaret. At night, when I look at this picture.
You know, Shannon has been one of those hard-working character actors known mostly to hardcore cinema buffs. It's nice to know between this show and Man of Steel, people might finally know his name, and not just know him as that guy who was having sex with Eminem's mom in 8 Mile.
Being an HBO series, sex, violence, coarse language, you know, all the good stuff is in no short supply. And maybe I've just become jaded, but outside some full frontal nudity and one particular character with facial scarring, I personally felt the whole thing was pretty tame by today's TV standards. If I was to look for any greater themes or motifs in the show, and let's face it, I wouldn't really be doing my job if I didn't, Empire seeks to deal with such issues as personal freedom, with having otherwise respectable people drinking and therein by justify breaking the law, second chances in the case of veterans like Jimmy, trying to rebuild their lives, and perhaps most surprisingly of all, gender politics, with Miss Schroeder, the woman that Nucky is courting, becoming something of an intellectual equal.
Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, this is a show about prohibition and bootlegging. Now, a lesser series might have just used this as window dressing, but here it's very much at the forefront. As a matter of fact, the show is probably at its best when it's exposing the social and cultural side of things that rarely get talked about. Another thing I have to mention is the music. Some really great choices here that reinforce the drama in a great way.
Did you ever sit and ponder, sit and wonder, sit and think why we're here and what this life is all about? It's a problem that has driven many brainy men to drink. It's the weirdest thing they've tried to figure out. About 1,000 different theories all the scientists can show, but never yet have proved a reason why.
In summation, Boardwalk Empire is a good crime show. Not a great one, not my favorite one, and probably not the best one on TV currently, but it knows its strengths and it plays to them very well. The first 2 seasons are available now on DVD, with a third one coming out later this year. So, I was late to this booze-filled party, but now I'm glad to be here.
They buy 100 pounds of yeast, fence a copper line. Everybody knew that it made moonshine.